Barry, the band's drummer and the only one of them who could actually read in that night, interstellar common. But the flashing red seal of the Void Gate Arena was unmistakable. Beside him, Jax was busy rewiring a prototype distortion pedal that smelled faintly of scorched ozone and old gym socks. Jax did not look up, but his mechanical goggle lens zoomed in and out with a series of frantic clicks. "Jax, what did you do?" Leo asked, his voice cracking like a dry reed. "We are going to die." From the corner of the cramped garage, a rhythmic thud-thud-thud began to accelerate. Miri, the band's drummer and the only one of them who could actually read a map, was hitting her practice pad with terrifying intensity. She was a girl of few words, mostly because she spent her time calculating the physics of percussion. Miri, the band's drummer and the only one of them who could actually read a map, was hitting this transus was injuries and by cascade. "There's the harmonic flux tournament," Leo muttered, wiping as they stepped out into the main concourse. It was a cacophony of sound. Above them, gravity-defying advertisements spun in circles, while below, a sea of aliens pushed and shoved their way through the narrow corridors. There were creatures with translucent skin, others with multiple limbs that moved like spiders, and a group of towering rock-skinned giants carrying instruments that looked like siege engines. "Looked at the competition," Jax whispered, his milk get offensive if you look at their secondary mouths. They pushed through crowd, feeling smaller with every step. The sheer hostility of the environment was palpable. A four-armed scout in a shimmering silver suit pushed past them, knocking Leo into a stall selling grilled space slugs. The scout didn't even look back, his multiple lines printing Missouri's downed, behaving Nate force. They pushed through the crowd, feeling smaller with every step and grew like. Mace when Jax, Leo hissed a full low-frequency hum. Other bands were scattered throughout the room, each more intimidating than the last. In the center of the room stood a figure that could only be the legendary talent scout, Vaxen. He had 4 arms, skin the color of a bruised plum, and wore a suit made of living bioluminescent silk that shifted colors with his mood. "Listen up, meet Saxon's silicon brains," Vaxen leaned in close, his scent like burnt cinnamon and old electronics. "Soul doesn't pay the bills, boy. Resonance does. Let's see if you can even find the first note before the stage swallows you whole." He swept away, his silk suit tearing a mocking glow. "You're too flat." Jax as his aliens roared in the darkness, their cheers sounding like a landslide of glass. The air was thick with the smell of ozone and the so intense it made Leo's teeth ache. "Okay," Leo whispered, plugging his guitar into the stage link. "We just have to play the first song. Midnight on Mars. It's simple. It's easy. We can do this." Shabbat is that pasted bass type formentries. Batter as light on the floor softened, turning a pale, shaky violet. It wasn't perfect, but the feedback stopped. They finished the song in a haze of sweat and terror, the final note echoing into a stunned silence. "You're a band," Mary said, her voice softening just a fraction. Then Maureen's voice wasn't loud, but it had a sharp metallic edge that cut through their bickering. She stood over them, her drumsticks held like weapons. "Do you think those aliens out there care who is right? They want to see us fail. They want to see the little apes fall apart. And you're giving it to them." She pointed toward the stage. "The flux didn't fail because of the music. It failed because you two don't trust each other. You're both waiting for the other one to mess up so you can say, 'I told you so.' If we do that in the second round, the stage won't just spark it. It'll open up and drop us into the energy core." Leo looked up at her, then at Jax. He saw the fear in his friend's eyes, hidden by the naked cliners. The Terran trio report to the gravity chamber for round 2. "Kind of singly open to the people." Mary nodded. A rare stage in the metallity processes, the gravity was fluctuating every 30 seconds. One moment Leo felt like he weighed 500 pounds, his guitar dragging him toward the floor. The next, he was nearly weightless, to keep his feet on the platform. Their opponents were a group of crystalline entities known as the Shards. They didn't use instruments. They vibrated their entire bodies to haunting, mathematical perfection was being drowned out by the raw human noise of 3 kids just to give up. But their success had attracted the wrong kind of attention. As they were heading back to their makeshift quarters, they were cornered in a narrow alley by a group of enforcers working for a rival band, the Dreadnoughts. The enforcers were hulking reptilian humanoids with cybernetic enhancements that glinted in the dim light. Their leader, a scarred veteran with a mechanical jaw, began to chatter violently, his eyes widening in shock. He dropped his baton, clutching his face as his entire head began to shake. They were allowed to sleep in a small, sterile room near the arena. None of them could close their eyes. The Rakanlamalo, asteroid. The walls were lined with thousands of spectators, their voices a deafening roar that shook the very foundation of the rock. In the center, the stage was a blinding white sun of energy. The dreadnoughts went first. They were spectacular. Their music was a wall of sound, a perfectly engineered assault of heavy bass and piercing synths. They used the flux like a weapon, pushing their will onto the fans' different species, all gathered in this one lawless place, all looking for something to believe in. The ass to the store has wide with something that looked remarkably like awe. He had spent his life looking for power, for dominance, for the perfect sound the Adilian sensed defy the very laws of physics. At the judges' podium, Vaxen was no longer cheering. He was staring at the band, his 4 eyes wide with something that looked remarkably like awe. He had spent his life looking for the soft respect toward the lead singer, knocking him into the pit. The crowd erupted, not into a roar of aggression, but into a massive unified cheer that shook the stars. As the final note faded, the golden light slowly dissipated, leaving the judge's verdict. They knew. Vaxen stepped